Well, a very, very happy Monday, and welcome to another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is December 8th of 2025. And on today's episode, we'll dive into Week 14's highlights coming to you from the AFC North Division. And I got to tell you, it wasn't the greatest weekend that I could have expected to have in football, but, you know, we kick off December. Got a chance to enjoy some football on Sunday. Um, Ohio State lost, and we actually have a busy week ahead of you guys. As I'm planning on reviewing more NFL news coming up later this week. Catch you up to Major League Baseball, any transactions happening over the winter meetings, um, and take a look at the college football playoffs and the bowl games. Those are all things looking ahead. Tonight is Monday Night Raw, and we will see the go home show to Saturday night main event, which is this Saturday, available on Peacock, wherever you guys get your professional wrestlings from. It is the final 6 to 7 days, 5 days now, whatever days left that we are counting down for John Cena's last and final wrestling match as an active WWE athlete. I like to say that very vaguely. I don't know what the future holds. Now, I know that I do know that John Cena is planning on retiring. And so far this year has been nothing but the indication that this is his last rodeo. But I've seen in the past, and I'm skeptic to really clearly settle if this is his last match. I don't think he is going to be in action anymore. But in the wrestling industry, never say never is kind of the phrase that goes around. And so, if this is John Cena's last match and he's going to go up against Gunther this Saturday night, then I hope they tear the house down. And I hope that John Cena gets a chance to cherish every and any moment that he gets over the next few days under this spotlight. Um, but there's just something that's part of me because I've seen athletes do this before where they've come out of retirement because the price was right, because they were called upon to make these appearances. And so that's why I never say never, but I'm okay if John Cena retires. You don't see John Cena on the active brands periodically. So I'm satisfied that if he ends this Saturday, um then that's where we lived at. And we'll have some time over throughout this week to kind of review and cherish the career that he has left behind us. I kind of expressed a little bit last week that I wasn't a big fan of Gunther being John Cena's final opponent. We talked about John Cena wanting to give back and creating opportunities for these younger talents. And, I think it would be great to see John Cena and Gunther do battle. Um, for me, I feel this kind of weighs on Gunther. He has the upper advantage in this match. He's just dominant. He's in his prime. But I've also seen Gunther in a lot of success. And what I don't like about this match is if you're having John Cena's heading out, he's retiring. We're not going to see any more of him. And I don't, but then you have Gunther, who still has a career ahead of him. He's been world champion, he's been intercontinental champion. And from my point of view, I see a guy who has already created himself a resume that is, you know, already Hall of Fame ballot bound, in my opinion. I've talked a little bit about what John Cena impacted on Dominic Mysterio and the fact that Dominic Mysterio, even though this was a 3 weeks complete circle or 2 week complete circle, however you want to look at it, Dominic Mysterio benefited so much from John Cena and facing him in the ring. And the fact that he has a win under his belt also means so much. I liked that angle because Dominic Mysterio is still such a young talent, still has so much to offer. He has so much room, so many rooms to climb. And now among the active athletes that are still wrestling, Dominic Mysterio gets to add to his resume, hey, I beat John Cena. Gunther adding to a resume that's already credible by, I think, any means necessary, saying I get to beat John Cena. You are now comparing Gunther to a Dominic Mysterio that are two completely different builds that you honestly probably wouldn't see step inside the ring anytime soon. I know LA Knight, he's getting up there in age. He's had his fair share run. I just think that LA Knight, if he was going to get pushed, he would have been pushed this way. If he, and the fact that we didn't see this happen, I really wish we would have saw Jey Uso win instead of LA Knight, and then make Jey Uso tap or be knocked out, and then have him pissed off or whatever rant that he's going through at this moment. That's my personal opinion. But we will see Gunther and John Cena coming up here this Saturday at Saturday Night Main Event. So Raw is on tonight, the go-home show to that. We'll find out any other matches scheduled to take place at the venue. It'll be available. Tonight's Raw is available on Netflix. And that's something that I'm warming up to get ready to watching. All right. So it was a difficult weekend, and, it didn't help that the Bengals did not win. They lost to the Bills 39-34. It was snowing, which I think is a unique sighting to experience. Watching games played in the snow, especially meaningful games. It honestly came down to who made the most mistakes. And we clearly saw the Bengals make more mistakes than the Bills. And specifically, we could point out that those mistakes were the 2 interceptions that Joe Burrow had in the fourth quarter, that the Bills were able to make the Bengals pay and score touchdowns off those. That's 14 unanswered points coming from the Bengals, giving the Bills. Joe Burrow, I think, was lights out, in a game that was sloppy from both offense and defense and on both sides of the ball. Josh Allen and the Bills it wasn't an easy win for them. This was definitely a game that we could have and probably should have won. Instead, we are, you talk about our backs up against the wall. I don't want to say let's pack up and go home, but it is a do or die situation. Look, I can't point fingers at Joe Burrow for this entire complete fail and the reason why we lost. You're asking a guy, one of the top tier quarterbacks in the league, to come in off of an injury, come back 2 to 3 weeks earlier than expected from an injury, and perform like he's never missed a step. And we saw a great game from Joe Burrow on Thanksgiving. And I think, despite the 2 interceptions, we saw a flawless lights out performance. Now, here's on the other hand, I was very impressed by our defense. I don't know what fire was lit under their rear ends, but we saw a defense that kept them in the game. As a matter of fact, the Bengals held the lead for majority of the game up until those two interceptions. And it was a back and forth. And that's what we need from our defense. We know our defense are going to give up points, but it's the amount of points, or the dynamic of giving up these points that is going to tell whether or not we're in a game or not. And so when we're able to have up by a possession or even two by halftime, we're giving ourselves, all right, now we can have Joe Burrow cruise control his way, continue putting up points like he does best. And then our defense is obviously going to give up points, and that's fair to be, said. So I don't think 39 points, if you minus 14 of those, minus 14, that's 25. 25 points was given up, honestly, through our offense or through our defense. And we came down to the last minute. We used our timeout. It was 3rd down and 15. Josh Allen, and, when you have a team that is capable offensively they have the receivers, they have that running back, and then they also have a mobile quarterback, then it's kind of hard. You're stacking against it. 3rd and 15, you don't want anything to be thrown over you. You rather give up some yards and, tackle down before the first down marker. And Josh Allen just, found a way. Mr. Speedy Gonzalez there, and, the rest was history. He got the first down, and the Bills won. This pushes the Bengals back to 4-9, and they're not yet knocked out of the postseason, but, they're not really, the room for effort will go over here in a moment. The other game in the AFC North that we're kind of really paying attention to, we talked about, was the Steelers and the Ravens. And surprisingly, we've had last week, there was a lot of chitter chatter, a lot of talk about the future and what fans think that the future should be for Mike Tomlin. Well, I think Mike Tomlin kind of wrote his story and made that statement. Hey, don't count me out just yet. Don't make any irrational decisions before you see how we finish off the season, because the Steelers came in and beat the Ravens on the road 27-22. And they have now moved in a sole possession of the AFC North with a 7-6 record, while the Ravens are one game behind, 6-7. They do face each other one more time at the end of the year. That'll be the final game of the season, and it may come down to the dividing factor of who makes it to the postseason. The Browns fell short to the Tennessee Titans at home, 31-29, and they moved to a 3-10 record. Coming up in Week 15, the Ravens and the Bengals will have a rematch from Thanksgiving, as this time it will be held at Paycor Stadium. And that kickoff is at 1 p.m. We would also have the Browns take on the 9-4 Bears, who lost possession of the NFC North after losing to the Packers over the weekend. And on Monday Night Football, we will have the 6-7 Dolphins take on the 7-6 Steelers. So, as a Bengals nation, we kind of have to reshuffle our cards, and let's see how the Cincinnati Bengals could make it to the postseason. Well, nothing changes for us. The Bengals still have to win every single game, and that's all they can control. They do take on the Ravens, which you'd obviously, want them. Bengals desperately need that win. They're in Miami the following week, which we hope that maybe the Steelers beat up on the Dolphins, or we actually hope that next Monday night that the Dolphins beat the Steelers. We're taking on the Cardinals, and then we're taking on the Browns, which we should hope to win as well. So right now, things look in our favor to win games. It's all a matter of executing, because a lot of people took us on Sunday to beat the Bills, and yet our execution did not prevail. So let's just say, theoretically, if we can win out, the best we could do is an 8-9 record. What does the Baltimore Ravens have to do? Well, that means the Baltimore Ravens will have to lose against the Bengals. That'll put them at 6-8. Their magic number from 3 last week turns down to be 2, and I'll explain why. They're up. They would have to, but they'll have to also beat the Steelers. So they lose to the Bengals. That'll be 6-8, and they would have to either lose to the Patriots or to the Packers. That would put them at 8-9 if they split that series. But they would also have to lose to the Steelers in this case. Now, could the Steelers beat the Ravens in the final game of the week? Sure. But what does that mean? That means the Steelers only have room to lose the rest of the other games. So they would have to lose Monday night to the Dolphins, and then in week 16 to the Lions, and in week 17 in Cleveland, which, if we look at Pittsburgh's schedule, it's probably the easiest, if not second easiest schedule behind the Bengals. I like to consider them matched up pretty fairly. The Ravens, I think in this chance, they're in some tough positions, and they have some tough opponents facing everyone except for the Bengals that have winning records and are leading their division at the moment. Patriots, Packers, Steelers all lead their division. So there is a good chance that we could see the Ravens over the next 2-3 weeks be eliminated from the postseason as they lose 2. If they lose 2, the best record they could have is 8-9. And if the Bengals could prevail, they would have the division lead over both teams. So all the magic number is win out, be 8-9, and hope that the Ravens and hope that the Steelers could be 8-9 by the end of the year, and we would have that advantage. It's a long shot. I understand. It's a lot of anxiety for a football fan, for a Bengals fan, to want to get back to the postseason. Let's come to reality, though, is that regardless, I think that we do need to go back to the drawing boards and really try to reestablish for what's to come next season, because we already know that there's going to be a roster mix-up we will not like to see. First thing, starting off with Trey Henderson. And Trey, understanding a little bit more information about his injury. Remember, he's been dealing with a hip injury since week 6. He is just now going to undergo surgery to help with his muscle, whatever they want to call it, in that area. So I wish him a speedy recovery, but this really does put a tamper on how the Bengals end this season. Now, like I said, the Ravens, maybe the Browns could be a challenging game, as that's on the road. But realistically, this is something that we could foreseeable happen. It will take a lot of effort from a lot of players, a lot of fans, and a few teams in this division. An update of the teams who were eliminated this season, or so far, after week 14. The New York Jets, Cleveland Browns, Tennessee Titans, Las Vegas Raiders, Washington Commanders, New York Giants, Falcons, the Saints, and the Cardinals. So we have 9 teams eliminated so far from the postseason. And as if the playoff would end tonight, The Broncos will hold the number 1 seed in the AFC over the Patriots, even though both teams come in 11-2. The Jaguars are 9-4. The Steelers are 7-6. The Bills in the first wild card spot with the 9-4. The Chargers, who are wait to host the Eagles tonight, are 8-4, and the Texans, who beat the Indianapolis Colts, are 8-5. Over in the NFC, the Rams sit alone at a 10-3 record. The Packers have the second seed with a 9-3 record, but if the Eagles win, they will take over the second seed, as they have an 8-4 record heading into tonight's game. The Buccaneers sit with a 7-6 record. The first wild card holds with the Seahawks at 10-3, the Bears at 9-4, or the 49ers at 9-4, and then the Bears at 9-4. So, as we completely wrap up week 14 of the NFL, we will dive in a little bit later this week about what we look at, maybe upcoming scenarios. I do want to talk about the Indianapolis Colts later on this week and what happened to Daniel Jones, which I just think is catastrophic to the organization, especially with the momentum that they had halfway through the season. But, talk about Monday Night Football tonight. The Chargers and Eagles are going to take place on ESPN. They have I think they have the Peyton Manning cast. They also have the Disney Plus, where they take Mike and Sully from Monsters Inc. And animate the game to imitate Monsters Inc. characters. That will be tonight on Disney Plus to check that out. I think that's cool. I'll be interested to tune that in tonight to watch. But that's going to be a fun game because the Chargers are trying to hold on to a postseason position here. But, man, week 14, I mean, football, this is what makes football great, right? The anxiety, the gray. I swear I've gotten gray hairs every December, not because of the snowfall, but because of the Bengals just putting themselves in a difficult position is unrealistic. But you're talking about snowfall, wherever you guys are at, whether you guys are up north, whether you guys are out here on the East Coast. I know in our area, we're expected to get some snowfalls coming up this week. Just want to wish everyone a safe travel, safe commute back to and from school, to and from work, or wherever you have to go. I try to avoid going out at all costs. If I don't have to, I've never gotten so scared in my life about how vehicles run until this is like my 4th year out here in the snow, and I can't stand it. I panic, and I become very fearful. The sliding, the slipping, and all that stuff, and I'm grown to the cowardness that it brings out of a lot of people, and I take part into that with the snow. So wherever you guys are at, man, please be safe, be smart. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. Finish your holiday shopping online or something like that. But a couple great things are coming up. I had myself a good weekend. Went out to a donut with Santa at a school on Saturday. Had a great time. Went out to got baptized on through my faith on Sunday, which was a very special, unique moment. And then we have a couple good things, a couple concerts coming up for holiday festivities. I know we have a good production that we're gonna go watch right before Christmas. I'm gonna be honest with you. There is gonna be less episodes as I get that schedule figured out. I will let you guys know. But hey, talk about the holidays. I got the perfect holiday gift for you guys coming up here. And as a matter of fact, it's tickets to Enlighten Studios' first theater production of 2026 called Grassroots. They have a 2-weekend production schedule starting from February 20th, running through
the weekend of February 27th and ends on March 1st. It'll be held at the Artsville Theater in 5021 Westwell Avenue, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45227. The theater only holds 150 seats. We have both Fridays. We'll have a 7 p.m. showing. Well, followed by Saturday, we'll have a double premiere on both Saturdays, one at 2 and one at 7. Sunday, we'll wrap things up on both premieres at 2 p.m. The doors open an hour before. Tickets are running about $25, including the service fee per person. I encourage you to get your tickets now, as they only carry 150 seats per event. You guys can head on over to tickettailor.com, where you can get your tickets and more information about that. Exciting stuff coming from Enlightened Studios. They have big plans for 2026, and I can't wait to share with you those ideas as they come along. Good friends with Terry Chappell over there with ESI, and just excited for the Forward Progress movement. They've had such a success with Dinner with a Few Sides of Drama, Love's Not Enough, and they're only expected to grow even further. So check them out. Head on over to tickettailor.com to get your tickets today before the holiday season. But look, this is all the time we have for you guys today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you guys are listening to us on our audio platform, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, Apple Podcasts, wherever you guys get this podcast, I want to thank you guys. I encourage you guys to reach out and share with us your thoughts about this podcast. The best way to do it is to head over to my YouTube channel. It's a gaming/podcast channel. It's called the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Get involved in the community chat. Reach out to me if you want to be a guest on this show. I'd love to collaborate with you. If not, I love to hear your thoughts, and a great way to get your thoughts out here on this channel, out here in the sports world. So I want to appreciate all that. Subscribe to the channel, and you can follow us on our social media pages at TNC Sports Talk Facebook page. I try to be as active as I can. Got a couple other things kind of preventing me from being as productive as I want on our social media platforms, but that may change over the future. But anyways, that is all the time I had for you guys. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and we will be back again tomorrow. Until then, thank you guys, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening.